What is it?
I have you to thank for it. For the first time in my life, when confronted with a horrible, insensitive person, I knew exactly what I wanted to say, and I said it.
At the height of her power, Meg Ryan was untouchable. She was the face of an entire era, commanding massive box office success.
Yeah, well, she doesn't care about us.
Listen, she's crazy about you, and she's gonna spoil you rotten.
Record-breaking paychecks, and a level of audience trust few actors ever reach. Then suddenly, everything shifted when her marriage began to unravel. A co-star, the legendary Russell Crowe, entered the picture. And the scandal that took over would change her life overnight. And now, we finally know the truth about what happened between Meg Ryan and Russell Crowe. And it's not what you'd expect. The rise of Meg Ryan. At some point in the 1990s, Meg Ryan was one of the most valuable women in Hollywood. She was the face of romantic comedy, the actress who could open a film based on her name alone. When audiences wanted to laugh, cry, and believe in love, they went to see Meg Ryan. She made over $670 million at the box office from just 4 films. She earned $15 million for a single movie at a time when that kind of paycheck was reserved for the biggest male stars. She was America's sweetheart. And then, in the early 2000s, it all fell apart. The collapse did not happen overnight. It began with a marriage, then an affair, then a scandal that the tabloids could not stop printing. And at the center of it all was a man named Russell Crowe. Meg Ryan was born Margaret Hyra on November 19, 1961, in Fairfield, Connecticut. Her mother, Susan Jordan, was a former actress and teacher. Her father, Harry Hyra, was also a teacher. She took the stage name Meg Ryan, using her maternal grandmother's maiden name, a small change that would eventually become known around the world. She studied first at the University of Connecticut, then transferred to New York University. She left 1 semester before graduating to pursue acting, a risk that most aspiring actors never take, and few survive. Her first substantial role came on the soap opera As the World Turns, where she played Betsy Stewart Montgomery Andropoulos from 1982 to 1984. Soap operas were a training ground for young actors, and Ryan learned the craft quickly. But she wanted more than daytime television. She wanted films. Her big break came in 1986 with Top Gun, the action drama starring Tom Cruise and Anthony Edwards. Ryan played Carol Bradshaw, the wife of Edwards's character, Goose. It was not a leading role, but the film was a cultural phenomenon. Audiences noticed her, directors noticed her, and 3 years later, she landed the role that would define her career. When Harry Met Sally was released in 1989, Ryan played Sally Albright, a woman who believes that men and women cannot be friends because romantic feelings always get in the way. The film was smart, funny, and unexpectedly moving. It also featured one of the most famous scenes in movie history. Meg received her first Golden Globe nomination for the performance. The 1990s belonged to her. She starred in 4 major romantic comedies that grossed over $670 million worldwide combined. When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, French Kiss, and You've Got Mail. She worked with Tom Hanks twice, and their on-screen chemistry became legendary. Audiences automatically knew that when they bought a ticket to a Meg Ryan movie, they would leave the theater feeling good. But Ryan was not just a romantic comedy actress. She wanted to show range. In 1994, she starred in When a Man Loves a Woman, playing an alcoholic high school guidance counselor. It was a darker, dramatic role, and she earned a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination for it. In 1998, she starred in 2 box office smashes, City of Angels with Nicolas Cage and You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks. She was everywhere, and she was unstoppable. By 2000, her salary reflected her status. She received a paycheck of $15 million for Proof of Life, a thriller about a kidnapping negotiator. That kind of money was rare for any actor, male or female. It established her as one of the highest-paid actresses in Hollywood at the time. She could have had almost any role she wanted. There were roles she turned down, too. One of the most famous was Clarice Starling in The Silence of the Lambs. The role went to Jodie Foster, who won an Academy Award for it. Ryan had different priorities. She was building a career on warmth and relatability, not darkness and violence. She knew what her audience wanted, and she gave it to them. For a decade, that strategy worked perfectly. But behind the smile, behind the box office numbers, and behind the $15 million paychecks, her personal life was not as picture-perfect as her films. She was married to a man she had met on the set of a movie years earlier. That marriage was crumbling, and the man who would become entangled in her life was already famous for his intensity, his temper, and his willingness to say exactly what he thought. His name was Russell Crowe, and when he arrived on the set of Proof of Life, everything changed. The man before Russell Crowe. Before Russell Crowe, there was Dennis Quaid. He was not just Meg Ryan's husband. He was a movie star in his own right, a leading man who had appeared in films like The Right Stuff and Jaws 3D before Ryan became a household name. When they started dating in the late 1980s, Quaid was arguably the more recognizable of the two. But fame is a strange thing. Sometimes it shifts and grows in one direction while shrinking in another. And by the time their marriage ended in 2000, the balance had tipped so far that Quaid would later admit he felt like he had disappeared every time they walked down the street together. They first met on the set of the 1987 sci-fi comedy Inner Space. It was a professional encounter, nothing more. But when they reunited for the 1988 movie DOA, something clicked. They began dating, and the relationship moved quickly. Plans to wed in 1990 were put on hold after Quaid admitted to Ryan that he had been taking illicit substances regularly. It was a confession that could have ended everything. Instead, it led to rehab. Quaid later told the Sunday Mercury that he had been addicted to, and Meg did not know it. He went to treatment in 1990, got clean, and the wedding was back on. They married on Valentine's Day in 1991. It was romantic, but it did not last. Their son, Jack Quaid, was born on April 24, 1992. Jack would grow up to become an actor himself, appearing in The Hunger Games and the television series The Boys. But in those early years, he was just a baby born to two movie stars trying to balance careers, parenting, and the pressures of Hollywood. The marriage was not stable. Behind the scenes, Quaid was still struggling with the demons that had sent him to rehab before the wedding. He later described his addiction in the 1980s to the Sunday Times. He said at the height of his addiction, he was using a very huge amount of these substances per day. He described having what he called a white light experience, a moment where he saw himself dead and losing everything. That vision, he said, was what convinced him to attend rehab. He got clean. He stayed clean. But the damage to his marriage had already been done. There was another strain on the relationship that had nothing to do with illicit substances. It had to do with fame. As Ryan's career skyrocketed in the 1980s, Quaid's did not. She was starring in blockbuster after blockbuster. He was working, but not at the same level. In a 2018 interview with Megyn Kelly on NBC, Quaid admitted that Ryan's growing fame affected him. He said that when they went out on the streets of New York, people would shout her name. He said he had to admit that he actually did feel like he disappeared. He reflected on that feeling years later, calling himself small for feeling that way. He said it was a growth opportunity, but at the time, it was painful. The couple announced their separation in June 2000. The divorce was finalized in 2001, but the timeline of the split became a subject of controversy because of what happened next. Ryan was already being linked to Russell Crowe, her co-star in Proof of Life. The tabloids suggested that the affair had caused the marriage to end. Ryan pushed back. In October 2000, she told W Magazine that her marriage and the dissolution of her marriage happened before it became a sport for the press. She said the public and the press tuned in way after. She initially claimed that no one cheated. She said neither she nor Dennis was cavalier about a breakup. She said he never cheated on her. Those statements would later seem to contradict what she told Oprah Winfrey in 2006. By then, the divorce was years behind her, and she was more willing to be honest about what had happened. She told Oprah that it was a very unhealthy marriage. She said it was pretty much not a happening marriage for a very long time. She said she probably should have left much earlier. The picture she painted was of a relationship that had been over in every meaningful sense long before the papers were signed. Quaid, for his part, was honest about the emotional toll. He told W Magazine in July 2001 that he got through shock, depression, and anger. He said that when you break up, your whole identity is shattered. He said that was why it was like death. The man who had once been the bigger star had watched his wife become a phenomenon, and then he had watched her leave. By the time the divorce was finalized, Ryan was already being linked to someone else. That someone was not just any actor. He was an Academy Award winner, known for his intensity, his volatility, and his willingness to say exactly what he thought. His name was Russell Crowe, and the relationship that followed would become one of the most scrutinized scandals of the early 2000s. The relationship with Russell Crowe. By the time Meg Ryan met Russell Crowe, her marriage to Dennis Quaid was already over. At least, that was what she would later insist. The public saw it differently. The tabloids saw it differently. And when photographs emerged of Ryan and Crowe holding hands, the story wrote itself. America's sweetheart had left her husband for a volatile Australian actor known for his temper and his intensity. The scandal was immediate. The coverage was relentless. And the relationship, which lasted less than a year, would change the trajectory of Ryan's career forever. They met in 2000 on the set of Proof of Life, an action thriller about a hostage negotiator. Crowe played Terry, a man who rescues kidnappees. Ryan played Alice, a woman whose husband has been kidnapped. The film's plot involved their characters developing romantic sparks. Behind the scenes, those sparks were real. The chemistry that was supposed to be acting became something else. In July 2000, before the divorce from Quaid was even finalized, Ryan and Crowe were photographed holding hands while leaving Tom Cruise's party for the premiere of Mission: Impossible 2. It was the kind of image that tabloids dream about. Two of the biggest stars in Hollywood emerging from a party, looking like they had something to hide. Prior to that, they had been seen nuzzling in restaurants and clubs all over London during filming. They were seen gallivanting all over California and Australia together. Friends who watched the relationship unfold described two people who were completely consumed by each other. One friend told People magazine that they seemed crazy about each other. They had great talks. They emailed each other a lot. He called her all the time. Another friend described Ryan as extremely infatuated with Crowe. The couple pretended to be house hunting together in Australia, a charade that fooled no one. A friend described the act as sweet. Crowe would point at properties and ask Ryan, "How about that one?" They were playing house in public while Ryan's divorce played out in the courts and in the tabloids. But for all their public appearances, they were also extremely secretive. Even with friends, they did not share details. Both Ryan and Crowe opted out of doing most press interviews for proof of life to avoid discussing the affair. It was a decision that angered the film's director, Taylor Hackford. He told the Calgary Sun that he was deeply hurt by their choice. He had made a movie, and he wanted to promote it. But the two stars of that movie would not talk to the press because they did not want to answer questions about their personal lives. The film, Hackford believed, suffered as a result. The relationship lasted less than 1 year. Ryan and Crowe reportedly started dating in early 2000 and ended by Christmas of that year. By December, they were separated, each spending the holidays on different continents. The breakup was quiet. There were no dramatic public statements, no interviews explaining what had gone wrong. They simply moved on. But the fallout from the relationship did not end when the romance did. Ryan was painted as a scarlet woman. Her own words to W Magazine. The woman who had played Sally Albright, the woman who had made America believe in love, was now being described as a homewrecker. Her squeaky clean image, the one that had made her $15 million a movie, took a major hit. She went from America's sweetheart to something else. The public did not forgive her easily, and the industry, which had once lined up to work with her, began to pull away. The relationship with Russell Crowe was brief, but its impact on Meg Ryan's career was lasting. She had gone from being the most valuable woman in Hollywood to being the subject of tabloid gossip. But the affair was not the only controversy that would define her in the years that followed. There were others that had nothing to do with romance and everything to do with how Hollywood treats women who refuse to play by its rules. The scandals that followed. Meg Ryan. The affair with Russell Crowe was supposed to be the worst of it, but the scandals did not stop there. In 2003, she walked into a television studio in London for an interview with Michael Parkinson, one of the most respected talk show hosts in British history. What happened over the next 17 minutes would follow her for the rest of her career. She was labeled difficult, arrogant, and cold. The interview became legendary for all the wrong reasons, and years later, even Parkinson admitted he had been wrong. The interview took place in October 2003. Ryan was in the United Kingdom to promote In the Cut, an erotic thriller directed by Jane Campion. It was a dramatic departure from the romantic comedies that had made her famous. The film required some explicit scenes, and Ryan knew it would be controversial. What she did not expect was to be interrogated about it on live television. Parkinson asked aggressive questions from the start. He questioned why Ryan would appear in such a film. He suggested that the film was cynical and bleak. He implied that her personal life, her divorce, and her relationship with Crowe had driven her to make darker choices. Ryan became visibly uncomfortable. She gave short, one-word answers. She looked like she wanted to be anywhere else. Eventually, she told Parkinson to just wrap it up. The fallout was immediate. Parkinson later called Ryan's behavior unforgivable. He said she had been rude to the other guests on the show and had treated the audience with disrespect. The British press piled on, describing Ryan as sullen, snooty, and arrogant. In a poll conducted in 2006, British viewers ranked the Meg Ryan interview as the third most shocking chat show moment in history, behind only Grace Jones slapping a host and David Icke declaring that the world was about to end. For years, that was the narrative. Ryan was the villain. Parkinson was the victim. But in 2021, Parkinson gave an interview to Radio Times that changed the story. He said he wished he had dealt with Ryan in a more courteous manner. He admitted that he was quite obviously angry with her and that it was not his business to be angry towards his guests. He said he came across as kind of pompous and that he could have done better. When asked what he would say to Ryan today, he said 2 words: "I'm sorry." He added, however, that she played a part in it too. It was not a full apology, but it was an acknowledgement that the interview had not been his finest moment. Ryan, for her part, has spoken about the encounter only a few times. In a 2006 interview with Marie Claire, she called Parkinson a disapproving father. She said she felt like he was berating her for her role in the movie. In a 2024 interview with the Times of London, she said she did not try to speak to Parkinson after the show. She just left. She added that she did not know who that guy was to begin with, and she did not have to think about him again. The interview damaged her career, but it was not the only factor. In the Cut and her next film, Against the Ropes, were both critical and commercial failures. In the Cut was released in 2003 and grossed only $23 million worldwide. Against the Ropes, a boxing drama released in 2004, opened to just $3 million on its first weekend. The woman who had once been the most valuable actress in Hollywood was now struggling to get audiences to show up. Following these films, Ryan took a 3-year hiatus from Hollywood. She told the New York Times Magazine that she was burned out. She said she felt like she was behind a window looking at her life. She also said she felt done when they felt done. The they she was referring to was Hollywood, the industry that had built her up and then torn her down. During her time away from the spotlight, another controversy emerged. Ryan's facial appearance changed noticeably over the years. Her large, bright eyes appeared uneven, one larger than the other. Her cheekbones and chin appeared more full and somewhat swollen. The speculation about cosmetic surgery began and never really stopped. Ryan has never confirmed or denied undergoing any procedures. In May 2023, Ryan made a rare public appearance at a New York screening of her friend Michael J. Fox's documentary, Still, about his support for Parkinson's disease research. Photos from the event sparked intense online reaction, with some fans asking what she did to her face. In fact, some social media users claimed she was starting to resemble Madonna, who has also faced relentless speculation about her appearance. Some media outlets speculated that Ryan's changed appearance explained why her character in Top Gun: Maverick, the 2022 sequel to the film that helped launch her career, was simply written as having died before the film's events, rather than appearing on screen. The explanation was never confirmed, but it added to the narrative that Hollywood had moved on from her. Ryan has tried to brush off the questions about plastic surgery. In a 2024 interview with the Times of London, she was asked about the speculation and simply asked the interviewer to move on. In a 2023 interview with Glamour magazine, she said she could not pay attention to the chatter about her looks. She said meanness and hatred were just so unnecessary. She also shared her philosophy on aging, noting that with age, you get to a place where you say what you mean without thinking about how it is going to land. Her hiatus from acting lasted nearly a decade. She told People magazine in October 2023 that she took a giant break because she felt like there were so many other parts of her experience as a human being she wanted to develop. She said she wanted to have her own thoughts. In 2023, Ryan returned to the screen in the romantic comedy What Happens Later, which she also co-wrote and directed. The film was not a blockbuster, but it represented something important. She was working on her own terms, telling a story that mattered to her, and refusing to let the scandals of the past define her future. But the question that has lingered for more than 2 decades is what really happened between her and Russell Crowe. The tabloids told one story. Ryan has told another. And the truth, as she has slowly revealed over the years, is more complicated than the headlines ever suggested. The truth about Meg and Crowe's relationship. For more than 2 decades, the story was simple. Meg Ryan left Dennis Quaid for Russell Crowe. The affair destroyed her marriage. The scandal destroyed her reputation. That was the narrative. That was what the tabloids printed, what the talk shows discussed, what the public believed. But the truth, as Meg Ryan has slowly revealed over the years, is more complicated. The affair did not end her marriage because her marriage was already over. Russell Crowe did not break up a happy family because there was no happy family to break up. And the woman who was painted as a scarlet woman says she found the experience liberating, not crushing. In an interview, Ryan said that her time being labeled as a scarlet woman was really interesting. She said that, as painful as it was also incredibly liberating. She said she did not have to care about what people thought anymore. There was a moment, she recalled to The Guardian, that captured this shift. She was walking through the lobby of the One Aldwych Hotel in London, and the place stopped. People stopped talking and stared at her. Instead of falling apart, she started laughing. She realized that public censure and disapproval had no power if you knew yourself. That moment, she said, was liberating. The relationship with Crowe was brief, lasting less than a year. A crew member from Proof of Life told People magazine that it was a typical co-star fling. But a friend of Ryan's revealed that Crowe wanted more. According to the friend, Russell wanted to marry Meg and have kids with her. His attention was excessive. He gave her gifts, including a 1963 Buick antique car and a puppy. It was described as too much too soon. It was overwhelming. Ryan, who had just emerged from a difficult divorce, was not ready for that level of commitment. Distance was also a factor. Crowe lived in Australia. Ryan lived in Los Angeles. Crowe hinted to the Herald-Sun in February 2001 that the geographic separation was the reason they did not last. He said he could not sustain himself through the course of the year without filling up on home, and Meg needed the same. They wanted different things. They lived on different continents, and the intensity that had brought them together eventually pushed them apart. Despite the breakup, Crowe has spoken warmly of Ryan. In that same Herald-Sun interview, he said she was a beautiful and courageous woman. He said he grieved the loss of her companionship, but he had not lost her friendship. Ryan has moved on in her personal life as well. She began dating country music star John Mellencamp on and off since 2010. They became reportedly engaged in November 2018, when Ryan was seen sporting a diamond ring. She told InStyle at the time that she was going to get married at some point, but for now, the engagement thing was a state of grace. She told the New York Times magazine that what was great about that period was that she and John were so free to have fun. She added, almost as an aside, that she sometimes thought relationships were for aliens. By late 2019, Ryan was seen without her engagement ring at the Governor's Awards. The engagement was off. Mellencamp told Esquire that he loved Meg Ryan. He said he went with her for 10 years, but he added that she did not love him so much. He called her a great girl and called himself a lousy boyfriend. It was a self-deprecating end to a relationship that had spanned a decade. As of 2024, Ryan has no confirmed current partner. She has been focused on her work, her philanthropy, and her family. She adopted a daughter from China, initially named Charlotte, and later changed to Daisy to better fit her personality. She has been working with CARE, a charitable organization dedicated to ending poverty by helping women work together. Russell Crowe, meanwhile, is in a long-term relationship with Brittany Theriot, a former actress turned real estate agent turned personal assistant. They reportedly first met on the set of the film Broken City in 2013, when Theriot was 21. They reconnected in 2020 and were first spotted on a tennis court in Sydney's Rush Cutters Bay in November of that year. Theriot has been credited as an assistant to Crowe on his 2022 film The Greatest Beer Run Ever, and his 2024 movies Sleeping Dogs and Land of Bad. She made her red carpet debut with Crowe in October 2022 at the Rome premiere of Poker Face. In 2025, Crowe told Karl Stefanovich of Nine's 60 Minutes that he was not going to get married again. He said doing it once was cool and great, but he did not want to do it again. He described his life as so joyous and happy at the moment and asked why he would ruin that with a wedding. He has 2 sons with his former wife, Danielle Spencer, an Australian singer and actress. They separated in 2012 and finalized their divorce in 2018. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on the next video on your screen, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for more updates.